From whimsical romances to gritty dramas on screen, for how long has love ever lasted in Paris? A city that needs no introduction, it is a pilgrimage for architects and artists. It draws filmmakers from around the world, each hoping to capture a piece of its charm. But is Paris truly the city of love, or merely a fantastical dream that feels real at night but fades away with the morning light? In today's video, we'll explore the many faces of Paris through its depiction on screen. How Paris is portrayed as a city of love, art, mystery, and even despair. When does it become both a dream and a harsh reality for characters, forcing them to face their own illusions and challenges? And does it finally fulfill the promises it claims to make at the start? Let's dive in to find out. Paris has long been portrayed as a fairy tale of romance, a dream that blossoms in its cobblestone streets and charming bistros. It is often seen as the city of love, but is it truly as romantic as the movies make it seem? Films like Amélie create a playful Paris, where romance is found in its streets and buildings, which are full of weird strangers. It is captured through the eyes of Amélie, a shy and quirky young woman who decides to change the lives of those around her. The streets and telephone booths, with their secretive, almost nostalgic aura, become a medium through which she connects with her love interest, Nino. Amélie's love is a manifestation of Paris itself, a city where romance is not only desired but even worshipped in its most profound form.
Alors, allez-y, nom d'un chien.
Similarly, Paris, Je t'aime presents a mosaic of love stories, each showing different shades of romance in the city, from fleeting connections to lasting partnerships. In the segment directed by the Coen brothers, we see a disillusioned American tourist trying to understand the city's chaotic energy, which at first feels like a mess, but gradually gives a sense of romantic clarity. The central idea is that the city fosters a world of chance encounters and romantic possibilities. These love stories highlight how the city's romantic spirit extends beyond what is conventional, making every nook and cranny feel like a perfect spot to bump into your soulmate.
Tu crois en l'âme sœur? Quelqu'un qui serait comme notre moitié.
But is this the full picture? Or is it a reflection of what the protagonist hopes to find in themselves while experiencing Paris? Take Amélie in Paris, where the city is romanticized as the ultimate dream destination, full of love, fashion, and fancy allure. However, as Amélie, a marketing executive from Chicago, navigates her new life in Paris,
Un pain au chocolat. Un, pas une. Un pain au chocolat.
her initial fantasy slowly starts to crumble. From struggling with the language barrier to encountering the bluntness of French work culture, Emily's dream of an effortlessly glamorous life in Paris collides.
You live to work. We work to live.
What begins as a postcard-perfect adventure turns into a journey of self-discovery. In Ratatouille, we see Paris as a city where even a rat can dream big, turning impossible dreams into reality. Remy, a rat with a talent for cooking, sneaks into Gusteau's kitchen to prove himself. The iconic scene where Remy views the city from the rooftop is a moment that captures Paris as a place where dreams come alive.
Paris? All this time, I've been underneath Paris?
But even for him, it isn't an easy paradise. His passion is constantly threatened by the dangers of his identity, adding to the extreme standards of haute cuisine. But let's take a more intense turn with Casablanca, where we see Rick and Ilsa's love bloom in Paris. For them, Paris is the embodiment of love, a city pure and untouched by war, where they share passionate moments that seem to exist outside of time.
But what about us?
We'll always have Paris.
But that love story is abruptly cut short when Nazi forces march into the city. When they meet again in Casablanca, their past in Paris lingers like a ghost, making them question whether what they had was real or just a dream before the world intervened. And who can forget the nostalgia-driven Midnight in Paris, where Gil, a disillusioned screenwriter, time travels to the past, meeting his idols like Hemingway and Fitzgerald. At first, Gil sees 1920s Paris, an era he always longed to be in where art and culture thrived, making his modern world feel empty. But as he journeys through time, he encounters Adriana, a woman from the 1920s who, in turn, idealizes the Belle Époque,
you know, what the present is. It's a little unsatisfying.
This realization that every generation longs for a past that never truly existed forces Gil to confront his own illusions and appreciate the present for what it is. In each of these films, Paris invites the characters to indulge in a fantasy. It tempts them with a world where all their dreams, desires, and passions seem within reach. But as the story unfolds, it slowly reveals its deeper layers, making them question if what they're chasing is real or just a beautiful illusion.
Oh my God.
No matter who walks its streets, Paris holds up a mirror, forcing them to confront the truth about themselves. A crisis begins, an existential one. Is it real, or is it just a fantasy? Romantic, yes, but is Paris just all about that? Or can this city take its characters on a voyage of exploring depths of romance where they meet even themselves in a truer and closer form? Discovering and revealing unknown parts of oneself, even going through a rebirth at times in ways mysterious, impossible to trace. But Paris hardly leaves you the way you arrived. Paris is also the city of transformation. We have seen Emily discover parts of her in this city. We saw Gil return with a new self altogether. And now we are about to see another relationship transform entirely in this very city. In Before Sunset, we see Jesse and Celine reconnect as they walk through Paris, each street revealing more about their past and unspoken feelings. They begin as two people weighed down by time, regret, and missed chances. But with every step through the city's streets, something shifts.
You can never replace anyone.
The past, once buried, starts to breathe again. Holy Motors centers around Monsieur Oscar, a man who shifts between various identities, embodying multiple lives throughout Paris in a single day. One moment he's in the heart of luxury, the next he's in a dark street or on a subway, changing from a businessman to a beggar or even a monster. The surrealistic quality of Holy Motors suggests that Paris is even a city of existential reinvention. The Da Vinci Code takes us into the heart of Parisian mystery, with Robert Langdon unraveling secrets hidden within the Louvre's walls. He arrives in the city as a scholar chasing symbols, but with every clue uncovered, he is pulled deeper into a web of history, conspiracy, and revelation. Paris, with its centuries-old cathedrals and shadowy passageways, becomes the key to unlocking a hidden truth.
You're saying the Holy Grail is a person? A woman?
What begins as an intellectual pursuit soon becomes a race against time. And then there's Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards, where Paris is no longer the city of love, but of resistance and rebellion. Shosanna Dreyfus enters Paris as a survivor, hiding in plain sight under an assumed identity. But the city is not just a place of refuge.
Comprends pas? Qu'est-ce que j'ai fait?
Beweg deinen Arsch ins Auto.
She changes from an escaper into a powerful avenger, reshaping history with fire and fury. But nothing can beat the way Christopher Nolan's Inception reimagines Paris as a canvas of the subconscious mind, and in that dreamscape, witnessing characters' extraordinary journeys. When Ariadne first arrives, she is just a student of architecture, but as she manipulates the city, folding its streets into illusions, she steps beyond mere academics and into the realm of creation itself.
Something, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Ariadne might have entered the city as a dreamer, but she leaves it as a designer of dreams. Emily matured in her own playful ways. Gil rebirthed with a profound yet relieving realization. Jesse and Celine give life to a fresh connection, allowing the past to burn before it starts to decay. The monstrous Monsieur Oscar's transformations touch upon the fluid nature of the city where everything is under constant change, in an ever-running cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Where Langdon's shifts here is a revelation of some really deeper truths, while the same Parisian experience of Shosanna and Ariadne empower them from their very core. Hadn't it been their journey through this city, they would have never discovered the true strength of their being, hiding beneath their timid demeanor. Whether it's love, art, or self-discovery, Paris transforms everyone who dares to explore its depths, challenging them to look beyond the surface and question their reality. Sometimes, Paris becomes a lane for reflection and resolving the unaddressed urges from the past. It has a way of forcing characters to confront the truths they'd rather avoid, playing the role of a relentless interrogator. It offers beauty, but not always comfort. Instead, it often stands as a roadblock, a mirror that demands reflection before any real change can happen. The story of the lovers on the bridge follows two lost souls, Alex, a street artist, and Michelle, a young woman struggling with emotional scars from her past. It takes place almost entirely on a bridge in Paris, which serves as both a literal and metaphorical space for transition. As Alex and Michelle face personal despair, the city gives them the space where they can confront their pain, but also where they remain trapped. Unless they cross the bridge, that symbolizes the space between life and death.
Tu savais que c'était moi?
Hugo's union with his father in a manner that completely shifts him is another bittersweet tale. Orphaned and alone, Hugo lives in the walls of a Parisian railway station, tending to the clocks in secret, clinging to the remains of his late father's work. His journey begins in isolation. As he pieces together the mystery of an old automaton, he uncovers the connection to a world that had once abandoned him.
Monsieur, this child belongs to me.
While in Les Miserables, the grandeur of Paris is overshadowed by its turbulence, reflecting the struggles of those who fight and suffer within its walls. Amidst the mess, the city offers fleeting moments of solace where we can hear whispers of a better tomorrow. But in the end, Paris is also merciless. When Marius sings empty chairs at empty tables,
Where my friends will meet no more.
he is no longer the hopeful revolutionary. He is a man weighed down by grief, surrounded by the ghosts of his fallen friends. The city that once held so much promise is now a cemetery of dreams. And who can forget the hunchback of Notre Dame? Here, Paris becomes almost mythical, both a sanctuary and a prison. Quasimodo, hidden away in the towering Notre Dame Cathedral, watches the city from afar, yearning for acceptance. But Paris does not grant kindness freely.
Out there they'll revile you as a monster.
I am a monster.
It is a place of beauty, but also of cruelty. And as Quasimodo ventures beyond the cathedral walls, he is met with both momentary joy and devastating rejection. By now, all the romanticized vision of Paris is totally stripped away, leaving us to witness a city as unforgiving as it is beautiful. It does not simply allow characters to grow, it literally forces them to, breaking them before they are remade. It leaves no chance to reveal the darker and maybe very essential side of the city, because sometimes, before a transformation can happen, one must first face deep despair, prolonged reflection, and the hard truths that Paris refuses to let them ignore. How many times did we see Paris holding a delusive promise? The city where you find or lose yourself almost too quickly. Yet does the story end right there? Last Tango in Paris strips away the romantic ideal, exposing the raw, painful side of love. Here, Paris is not the city of love, but a place where passions turn into obsessions. Paul, an older American grieving the loss of his wife, and Jean, a young Parisian engaged to be married, meet in an empty apartment and begin a relationship defined by unspoken rules. The empty apartment becomes a prison of their own making, turning the relationship almost suffocating, even destructive.
Pick a vomit in your face. I don't want you to swallow the vomit. You gonna do that for me?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
By the time reality crashes in, the dream of Paris is not just broken, it is completely undone, leaving behind only the cold weight of their relationship's truth. Even in the dreamers, Paris initially offers an intoxicating world of passion and rebellion. Theo and Isabelle, twins of a French poet, live in their lavish Parisian apartment. They soon lure Matthew, a shy American exchange student, into their world of liberal intimacy, an existence detached from the outside world. They reenact famous movie scenes, indulge in psychological games, and exist in a bubble where time seems to stand still. But outside, the city seems to be boiling in the chaos of the 1968 student riots. In the final moments, Theo and Isabelle vanish into the violent protests, leaving Matthew behind, heartbroken and disillusioned. Leaving us as well with another story where an outsider comes here with fantastical Parisian dreams, only to be replaced by the stark realization that fantasies cannot outrun the weight of the real world. But perhaps the darkest side of this fantasy is witnessed in Camille. Marguerite Gautier, a famed courtesan, falls deeply in love with the young and sincere Armand Duval. It feels all dreamy and fantastical, right? Grand ballrooms, whispered promises, and stolen moments of happiness.
I didn't know that rich men ever looked like that.
But love and society rarely mix in her world. She sacrifices her happiness, returning to the wealth and comfort of Parisian high society, but it's an empty existence. The city that once embraced her now feels cold and distant as she falls into illness and dies. It is heartbreakingly cruel to realize that the very place that seduces with beauty has no way to offer refuge when love turns to loss. And then to crush your Parisian dreams and desires under the weight of reality. The city promises love, reinvention, and escape, but after a point, it all feels like a facade. Passion fades, illusions shatter, and the very ideals that draw people in often betray them. Whether it's a fleeting romance that ends in heartbreak or a pursuit of happiness that turns into disillusionment, Paris reveals that not all dreams are meant to last. At least not without putting up a good fight first.
Yeah, happy endings are very American.
He would like more of a French ending.
Which is what?
Tragic.
In the world of film, Paris is more than just a backdrop. It's a character, a lover, a friend, and sometimes even an adversary. And though it may be a captivating fantasy that often shatters and breaks your heart, it's still the one we're willing to pursue over and over, drawn to its promise even when we know it may never quite be real. Which version of Paris fantasy did you love the most on screen? Share your favorite films set in Paris we missed in the comments below. If you enjoyed our journey through the streets of cinematic Paris, like, share, and subscribe for more.